The Case of the Missing Deer. "Do you think we'll see some deer soon?" Blake asked. From their chairs on the small patio, his mom and Grandpa both nodded. The three had just arrived at their vacation cabin. Blake was kicking his soccer ball around the wide lawn that their cabin shared with three others. Beyond that were the woods, like a thick green wall. Grandpa had said the deer came right up to the cabins here, and Blake really hoped it was true. "You'll have to wait until it cools off," Grandpa told him, "but I bet we'll see some this evening." "Hey, pass me the ball." Blake looked up to see a girl about his age coming toward him from the next cabin. He kicked his soccer ball her way. The girl trapped the ball with her foot. "I'm Maria," she said. "My family has been here 3 days, and this place is great. But I forgot my soccer ball." She pointed to a third cabin. "There are 2 brothers staying at that cabin, Nicholas and Todd. We've just been kicking a pine cone around the last couple days." "I heard that the deer come right up to the cabins around here," Blake said. "They do. It's really cool." "All right, a real soccer ball." 2 boys appeared from around the side of one of the cabins. It was Nicholas and his younger brother Todd. Within minutes, the 4 of them had a game going, with lawn chairs as goalposts. The game was loud and rowdy, and even though it was late afternoon, the sun was still strong. Blake pulled his sweatshirt off and flung it on one of the chairs. After an hour of playing, and a few points scored by each team, they wrapped it up. Maria called to Blake as the new friends all headed back to their own cabins and dinner. "Hope you see the deer tonight." "Me too," Blake replied. But no such luck. After dinner, Blake kept watch for a while at the glass door. When no deer appeared, he joined his family to watch a video. But he kept going to the windows to check. By bedtime, Blake had not caught sight of a single deer. Living in the city, he would never be able to see deer on his doorstep. This was his only chance. The next day, Blake and his family had a lot of activities planned, but by late afternoon, he caught up again with Maria, Todd, and Nicholas. As they set up pine cones to dribble the soccer ball around, Todd said, "Did you see all the deer last night?" "A mom and her babies were right outside our kitchen window," Maria said. "We didn't see any at all," Blake replied. "We thought maybe it was too cold." "No way!" Nicholas said. "They were all over the place." Blake frowned as he kicked the soccer ball across the lawn. "I'm sure they'll come to your cabin too, Blake," Maria assured him. "I saw them in your yard before you got here." "I don't get it," Blake said the next day, when he learned his friends had spotted deer in their yards again. Again, the animals had avoided Blake's cabin. What was everyone else doing right? "Maybe I'll put some food out there, like some apples," Blake decided. Nicholas, Todd, and Maria thought this might work. Before dinner, Blake scattered apples near the cabin and all over the yard. He might not catch sight of a deer, but if the apples were eaten, at least he would know they had come to his cabin too. The next morning, Blake hurried outside to check on the apples. Not a single bit of an apple had been eaten. It looked as if none of them had even been moved. "It's the case of the missing deer," Todd said, when Blake glumly reported his bad news later that afternoon. "Sounds like a detective story," said Maria. "One I want to solve," Blake said. "I need to start thinking like a detective." "That means starting with all the facts you already know," Nicholas replied. There were many things the friends knew about the case of the missing deer. They wrote down what cabins the deer went to, and when, as well as how many they had seen. "Are you sure you saw deer around our cabin before we got here?" Blake asked Maria. She nodded. Definitely. Could it be the soccer ball? Nicholas asked. Before you got here, we didn't have one. Maybe the sound bothers the deer. But they don't come out at the time of day when we play. At night, it's quiet, so it can't be that. A search around the cabins provided no clues either. Then, Todd had an idea. Let's check for tracks coming out of the woods. Everyone agreed. At the edge of the wood, they found deer tracks heading towards Blake's cabin. But it looked as if the deer had turned back around for some reason. It was a mystery. The four friends sat down in the screened-in porch at Maria's cabin. As they chatted, Blake picked up a magazine that sat in a basket near his chair. It had articles about outdoor sports. As Blake flipped through the pages, one article caught his eye. He read it quickly. "I've got it," he said. "I bet I know why the deer have been staying away. Follow me." In seconds, the friends were standing in Blake's yard, between their lawn chair goalposts. "What's the one thing you notice in this yard that isn't in any of the others?" Blake asked. The three kids looked around. "Just your sweatshirt on the chair," Maria said finally. It had been lying there since their very first soccer game. "Right," Blake said. "I just read this article that said deer have a really good sense of smell. It said hunters spray their clothes with something that covers up human scent because deer run away when they smell people. So, you think your sweatshirt was keeping the deer away from your yard?" Nicholas asked. "That's what we're going to find out," Blake said, grabbing his sweatshirt. "Let's see what happens tonight. Everyone come over after dinner." That evening, a soft rustling sounded just beyond Blake's cabin. The four friends were ready and waiting at the sliding glass door. As they watched, 2 deer and a fawn made their way delicately across the shadowy backyard. They paused to nibble on fresh apples Blake had put out for them. "You were right," Maria whispered. Blake smiled, satisfied at last. "I'd say the case of the missing deer is finally solved."